Welcome to Adjusting to Six Figures. Two best friends that turn their lives around, professionally and personally. So if you're looking to change, we tell it like it is, with no bullshit. Shut up with the excuses and make something of your life. Let's do this. This is Adjusting to Six Figures. And here are your hosts, Jeremy Reddick and Chris Stanley.
Eric, fantastic to have you on, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me here, man. I really appreciate it.
Congratulations on the haircut too, man. You're looking good. I was looking at your website before we went on, Royal Reputation. I was checking that out, and that led me to your podcast. And I was looking at the I don't know if it's like the default picture that you have for your podcast, but it's like a photo shoot photo of you. Yeah. And I saw that and I was like, son of a bitch, man. Damn. How do I follow that?
Went all out for that one. Yeah, that's for sure.
No, it was really good. It was really good. And so I started reading up on stuff, and I read that you're from New York.
Yeah,
originally?
Buffalo, New York, born and raised.
All right, Buffalo, New York, and you're living in Florida now. What led to you smartening up? And,
the cold. Oh man, honestly, like I've never been I never grew up and like loved playing in the snow or anything like that. And then I like the people in New York and it's great, but I also like never really experienced like I wasn't there long enough to like have fun in Buffalo, if that makes sense. Like I know I was there like growing up. I grew up there. I was there till I was like mid-20s, which sounds crazy, but I had a kid at 21. So my entire life was just graduated high school, did a little bit of college, immediately started opening up businesses and working. And I never really got to like have fun and enjoy the adult time, there exploring the city or doing whatever. So it was just, I think it was what year? 2014. We had a November storm in New York, 8 feet of snow. We were locked in our house for 8 days. We had full electricity, full food. We got very lucky and went food shopping, like right before it happened. Couldn't go to work, had to use paid time off, had to use like just unpaid time off after you like burned through that. I was working for someone at the time. And then I remember digging a hole out of my front door so my dog could go outside and run out to the bathroom. And the second I'm digging this hole, I go, I don't want to come here ever again. Right. I don't want to be here. So I had just started a business like not too long before that. I might be getting the dates confused. So the business started the business started in August of 2014. So at the time in November, I wasn't using paid time off. I was just working for myself. And I apologize that I crossed those lines, but plenty of times where you're using paid time off in the snow and doing all that stuff. Right.
That's a real thing.
Yeah. So like there were so many times where you had to do that and couldn't drive. So this time I wasn't. And then my wife was pregnant. And my second son was due to be born in mid-January. So he ended up being born January 23rd. She had a C-section. So I was like, the second you are good to travel, the second the doc okays it, we're leaving. Right. And she was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then right before that, I was doing like marketing and stuff. August of 2014, we started, selling $300 a month deals for like general marketing. And that was like a standard deal in the industry in Buffalo. Right. And it was like you promise people everything for $300 a month, and you try to deliver on that, but on that small budget, it's really, really hard. But in Buffalo, that's what you have to do.
Was this the business? Was this the business that you started, or was this the PTO?
No, this was the business I started. Yeah, this was the business I started. So I ended up backing up, and I'm sorry I told this out of order. I needed to be more caffeinated right now. I was working for someone for years. My first company that I opened there was a personal training company. I left there, ended up working after a year, sold it to my other two partners. Started working for Hearst Media. I don't know how I got the job. At the time, I was not qualified. I was miserable. The people were miserable there. The atmosphere was miserable. It was a toxic environment. But it was a good paying job, my first taste of marketing. And then I quit there and went and worked for their direct competition, Town Square Interactive. They were partnered with local radio stations, and they were like, I got to see like kind of celebrities come up into the booths and like still work on internet marketing. And that was really, really neat. Right. So then after that, they still sold not a great product. So like in August, I literally quit and I was like, hey guys, I'm sorry, but I'm done. And it was like half sales, right? So they're going to let you go anyways, whether you give your 2 weeks or not. So I was just like, bye, here's my letter of resignation. The next day I went out and just pretended I was by myself. I sold a $400 website to someone, didn't know how I was going to make it because at the time I didn't know how to make websites. Found someone to make it for 200, put the other 200 back in the company, and the brand lived on ever since. Like that's what it was built off of. I just kept doing that over and over. We started with, now this brings me to like where we left off before I hedged. We started with $300 a month marketing deals. And like, so every client was like a $300 a month value. The reason why Tampa came up was not only the November storm, but right around that same time as well, I ended up getting a client worth $1,200 a month in Tampa somehow. A friend of a friend of a friend knew a referral, knew a guy that said I could do it. Now the $1,200 a month deal was the same amount of work I was doing for the $300 a month deal.
Beautiful.
And I was like, this is not 4 times the work. The cost of living is not 4 times out in Tampa at the time. Real estate is another thing, but at the time it wasn't 4 times. So this is 2014. And then, so I just came out to Tampa, and instead of getting, hundreds of working on getting $300 a month deals, I was focusing on getting as many $1,000 a month deals as I could. And then that went from the $1,200 a month deals to the $3,000 a month deals. And then that went from $3,000 a month to $5,000. Then $5,000 went to $10,000. Right. And then we so on. And like, it's just stacking, right? Like they're all retainers. They all get deliverables. It's never like my time that I'm giving them. It's always like, this is what you're going to get for X, Y, Z. And then that's just kind of what it bloomed into. And now we have, Royal Reputation, where we do a lot of stuff, online reputation management stuff and things like that. So I know that was a lot of me talking, and I apologize, but
no, that's it. That's great. That's great to hear that progression there. And that's how business works, right? It's taking that $400 deal, that really doesn't sound, I mean, it's not much, doesn't sound like much to most people. Definitely not enough to sustain a business, but it's that $400 deal that you stick to it. And then you end up working your way over time, trials and tribulations. And then next thing you know, you're finding yourself, so many, sleepless nights later, finding yourself bringing in those $5,000 clients. It's the necessity to move forward in it. So how did you said real briefly, you started with, you had a business, a personal training business. I've heard that. I dated somebody for a long time that was a personal trainer, and she always spoke about how difficult it is to really grow that. I mean, what brought you in that direction to start a business?
So like fitness is, and I love fitness, and it is hard. And even at the time it was hard. Buffalo's a little different than here. Like a lot of people take working out, not that people don't take it seriously here, but there's like a lot of bodybuilders in Buffalo. And a lot of different type of lifters in Buffalo, because for 6 to 8 months out of the year, it's snowing. So you're inside the gym doing that stuff. You're not outside running. Like they still have that, but that's the atmosphere. That's the difference of the seasons. That's the difference of like this being in the sun all the time versus like the weather and everything. So I was in fitness. I got a job at a gym around the time my first son was born. I dropped out of college pretty early in. I was like, I'm not going to be able to go to college and like raise my son. He's 11 now, which is wild to say. I'm only 32 for everyone that's listening. I'm not like an old man.
Oh man. Yeah. You got started early, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I was like 20, 21 when he was born, and I dropped out of school, and I was like, I'm going to go get a job working overnight at a gym and then probably find some other stuff. This was before I really knew I was like an entrepreneur, honestly. Like I always had those tendencies.
You had the hustler inside of you.
Yeah. I always wanted more. And I was like, this isn't it. I always wondered why I was like always not ever challenging. And I was like that in sports and stuff too. I never challenged people like argumentatively, but I always challenged them in my head. Like, why wouldn't they do it like this? And I never had the confidence to speak up and go and offer solutions. I was just kind of like, to them, I was almost maybe like a lazy employee, like figuring out like ways to do it myself that was better, or like combative. And I wasn't trying to be. I just person that likes to do things a certain way. And I feel like I could find a better solution if it's in my way. Not saying it's the right way, but my way would be a better solution for me.
Yeah.
So I started working overnights at a gym. It led to a bigger position at the gym. And then someone at the gym, a friend of mine now, I didn't know him at the time. There was a training company working out of there. And he saw me talking to a member one day, and you didn't ever made commission or anything. I was making like $850 at the time, cleaning like the gym and making protein shakes. And I was just talking to someone about signing up and like what it entails and just touring them in the gym. This guy's watching me, and I was like, noticed him watching me, but I didn't let it affect me. And I was just educating this girl on what the gym was. And he goes, buddy, I'll never forget it. Like this day, like literally changed my life. He's like, buddy, why aren't you working for me? And I was literally, I like was taken aback because I've seen him. I've talked to him. I knew he worked in the gym for a fitness company that was inside of the gym that wasn't, they were paying rent to be able to service the members of the world gym that I was working at. And then I was like, work for you? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, who is this guy? Turns out he runs like 85 clubs in the nation. And like, he's like a big deal. He's like a regional manager of this company. And so I was like, okay. And he's like a fast talker. He's from Connecticut. His name's Mike Wakefield. He's a good friend of mine to this day. So he starts grooming me, and I'd never been in sales. So he wanted me to sell personal training, basically do exactly what I did with that girl, only run her through a program and then convince her to get personal training. And I hate salespeople. I genuinely do. But I felt so good about selling people fitness because it was, if they committed, no matter what it costs, it was only going to benefit them in every single way.
And it's something you believed in. I mean,
exactly. So it wasn't like, here's a shitty car and go take this car and it could break down and I'm being grimy and I'm like, like doing objection handling like salespeople do and all this stuff. And that's all fine. Like whatever. I've never liked being sold. And if I think a lot of salespeople do it in a manipulative way, they have these tactics. And I think it's not wrong. I just don't like it. It makes me feel a certain type of way that I just don't like. So I never wanted to be that person. Right. But I went all out and I was that person sitting in front of these people giving me excuses on why they couldn't do this, or this.
Right.
And it was $160 a month for a program and a $280 a month for a program and a $360 a month for a program. And I was like, $360, like, yeah, it's a car payment in Buffalo, especially, like it's a blue collar city. But I was like, they can afford that. So I did that for a really long time. And then I quickly became, so I took the leap, even though I had this, my son, and it was like commission only when I started. And I was like really scared and nervous, but I just jumped in without thinking about it. Quickly started making six figures and becoming like the, top salesman out of the 85 clubs in the nation. And he had like not ownership, but his region was like 12 clubs somewhere in New York, somewhere in Jersey, somewhere in Buffalo, 3 in Buffalo.
6 figures selling just gym memberships on a commission only basis.
Personal training. So the gym membership had their $10 a month contracts. And then after that, they had their contracts.
Right.
They would go, hey, let me sign you up with a free session. I would get the people with the free session. And then, the people that really didn't want it, like I wouldn't, but again, they had only benefited. So I was the boss of, somehow I became the boss of like all these bodybuilders and all these people that were so like much more experience. I love fitness. I always have. I was a heavier kid too when I was younger. So dieting and working out is like really important to me. And my weight is always fluctuating. So I have to be really dialed in to keep it how I want. And so I was the boss of all these people in all these clubs, quickly became the boss of the 3 clubs in Buffalo, Williamsville, Hamburg, and Niagara Falls. Okay. And then I start doing that in fitness. And then I'm like watching how they're stacking. And like, if you notice, like I said, they have a $160 a month program, a $280 a month program, a $360 a month program. And I'm watching and I'm like doing the math, and each one of those is a monthly program. So let's say you get 10 $360 a month programs. So what is that? $3,600 a month reoccurring, and you lock them into a 12-month contract. And then I did it again the next month, and then the next month, and then the next month. And each month you do 10 was like the low end. They wanted you to close 30 plus deals a month. Yeah. Right. So I started doing the math, and I was like, I could make my salary doing this for myself. And then that's really how I got involved in it. Yeah. I was like, okay, so I quit. I went and opened my own. After I went and opened I'm sorry. Let me stop real quick. I hated it was really long hours. So I hated working. It was 8 a.m. till 8 p.m. and it would really be conference calls in the morning, conference calls midday. And then I wouldn't leave until later than I was supposed to anyways. That was Monday through Friday, and then 9 to 3 on Saturdays. And then your only day off was Sunday. So I got quickly burnt out. I was talking to the gym and they were like, hey, we're trying to open our own personal training firm for the gym that I originally worked at that they stole me from, even though it was in the same building. So it's a completely different job.
Yeah.
And that was in, Niagara Falls or somewhere out there. They had another club opening. So I started doing their personal training there. And then they were wanting to kick that other company out because they realized how good they were doing and then do it for themselves. And so it became this thing. And then after like 8 months of doing that, I was like, I'm just going to do it for myself. That's when I had that thought of, I just built it for someone else. Why not build it for myself? And then I left and I sweet talked my way into a Gold's Gym down the street. And our first, gym that we were in, it was the only gym that we were in, was Prestige Fitness Solutions, was my personal training company. And I just started doing it in the Gold's Gym and rinse and repeat.
It was the same sort of business model as the one that you had went to and were doing so well in, just basically like subcontracting out, I guess, just the personal training arm of the gym.
So the gym owner, our shtick was the gym ownership, or the gym owners or the GM, they didn't have to worry about their trainer schedules and their guys getting up on time or carry the proper insurance for all that stuff, and worrying about all that stuff and being there all day for those things. So that was like, they already had their employees for the front desk and do all that stuff. So we got to take that away from them. And it was really nice because they didn't have a setup in there. So it was pretty good. The Gold's Gym wasn't that great. It was like a really kind of like dive gym, I would call it, like great for lifting and lifting a lot and chalk, and wasn't a family commercial gym like we were in, but we still did pretty well. But the problem that we messed up on is we had I did it with my two other friends. So we each had 33.33% of, the company. So which was a terrible way, because
3 captains to a ship.
Exactly. So we didn't really bump heads at all, but there wasn't enough money to go around, because really it should have been a one man, here's the owner, and then I have employees that make less. We were splitting, one person would have been able to live really, really happily off that salary when we started, but 3 people, it was rough. So I quickly left that, sold it to them after I think a year, maybe even more, and then that's when I jumped over to Hearst and was like, oh, I've been doing the marketing for this stuff anyways, reaching out to people on Facebook. Hey, do you want a free session? Hey, do you want this? Hey, do you want that? Before Facebook was like the marketing machine that it is today.
Yeah. It's very similar with me. I've had an online business for a while now, and man, if something came, so I'm in the insurance space, but if a memo went out and it said Jeremy Reddig can no longer do anything related to insurance, man, marketing is what I would do. That's the most interesting thing for me. It's just understanding the psychology of everyone, and that plays into sales too. Is understanding the psychology of your customer right there. But man, that's so you had that, and what you were saying about the 33%, and it resonates with me because I literally, maybe like a week or so ago, I had a conversation with somebody about this, because they were talking about going 50-50 partners with me on something, and and it's a fair mistake, and I'm going to call it a mistake to ever do 50-50 or 33-33 whenever it's split like that. It seems like, when you're growing up, that's the thing, right? We're going to be partners. We're going to go everything 50-50, and that's fair. But it's so incredibly difficult to actually run a successful business when you are 50-50 with somebody. You'll never go on a ship and there's 2 captains. 3 captains, even worse. They're going to butt heads. It's inevitable. The person could be your brother, your sister, another loved one, your spouse. You're going to butt heads. And 50-50, you're going to be stuck on the same problems, and all 3 of you, 2 of you, whatever the case is, you're just going to want to go. It's 49-51. That's the best you're going to get. 49-51. And delegate the responsibilities after that. So it's a man, hey, you're starting business, right? That's just kind of the thing that happens. You learn and move on. So you were doing that, and that's so interesting. So you're doing that, and now you're starting to get over to the marketing side, right?
Yeah. I bumped over to the marketing, and the atmosphere at Hearst was just like, there was people in charge that were like old, And we were like, nothing against old people at all. Just, I mean, we were talking about the internet here before internet. I mean, 2014. Try to think back to what internet marketing was in 2013 when I started there. And it was just not, it was not like how it is today. So we had all these people, you know, that were like, had no idea. It was like the first kind of sign of internet marketing. And it was so new. And it was like people convincing people to be on social media at the time, which now when I hear people trying to convince people to get on social, I'm like, you're already behind the 8 ball. Like you're already like way, like you're talking about it as if we were in 2013.
Right.
Like it's, so to me, it's like unreal that you even have to have that conversation.
Right.
But so there was people in charge that didn't need to be in charge. There was people that were like, they were a phone book company to start. Like this is what the context is. They were a phone book company to start, and they had $1.8 million or something, maybe even more in phone book revenue. I think it was more. Maybe it was 10.8. It was a large sum of money that out of the 52 sales reps that were there, we signed up to sell internet marketing, and it was half of those reps had really only wanted to sell phone book because they were older. Then the other half was like my age trying to just sell internet, but they made everyone sell phone book, and it was really crazy. And then you'd have to sell something you didn't believe in to just maintain revenue. And it was like unreal. And so that created like a really toxic environment. And then randomly, like 8 months in, some guy shows up and he's like, you're under new ownership. I'm the new president, not new ownership, but he's like, I'm the president of this place. I came from this company. So I Google his company, the Town Square Interactive. And I was like, looks like a fun company. It looks like a true startup. Like they had gongs, they had Nerf guns, they're drinking beers midday. They're headquartered in Charlotte, but places everywhere else. And it was my first taste of like, this is neat. I didn't know that this was what startup culture was. Like you see it in movies, but you never know it's real. Right. And then I applied for a job there. And because of the guy that came onto the place that I hated, that just came from there. Yeah. And then I applied for a job there and got it. The president of the place that I got was from Buffalo. So he happened to he liked that I was from Buffalo. He needed a Buffalo rep, and it ended up working out. So I was like, this is really cool. That was and that company, I want to say on record, was the best company culture I've ever experienced in my entire life. They really care about their employees. I just didn't. And I'm sorry to say this, but this is me being real. Like I didn't believe in their product. I thought that they could have done a lot better with their stuff for the big team that they had, for the talent that they had on the team. Yeah. But you know, they were kind of doing the bare minimum, but they went public. I think they went public in October of 2014 after they started it for 2 years. 2 years and they went public. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they're a huge company.
So at that point, so you've already had the kind of background of being an entrepreneur, having your own business. Now you're jumping back. Now you're working for Town Square. How long were you doing that?
I think I was like just shy of a year for local at Hearst Media. So the subdivision of Hearst Media in Buffalo is called Local Edge. Okay. And then I think I was just under a year there. And then after that, it was like 8 months at Town Square Interactive when I really started. Again, it was the same kind of, I was depressed. I was miserable because of the environment. I knew in my soul, without having like actual, like my last business was a flop technically because I left it to go back with someone. Right. So in my mind, I'm like, am I really an entrepreneur? You start second guessing yourself. Like we just struggled so much with this. I have a son now. How can I put my family through this? Like I need this 60, I went from going to ProFit, making 6 figures to the personal training firm, then worked for the gym, making a little less than 6 figures, then worked for this other, started my own, nowhere near 6 figures, then worked for this other company. And I started leveling off at like $50,000, $65,000 a year. And that was like, okay. But I had already been living this kind of $100,000 a year lifestyle, $120,000 a year lifestyle. Right. And then I was like, okay, so this sucks. And then I went and worked for them, still did like 65, 75. And then I was like, what do I have to lose at this point? I'm miserable. Like I'm depressed. I'm the most out of shape I've ever been because it's a desk job. I'm not taking care of myself. People are yelling at me for like that don't even need to be in charge. This not at Town Square, but at Local Edge. That's why I left there. But then I was like, started thinking like, maybe I'm like, I started coming out of the anxiety and the depression of it, of like doubting myself and going, maybe I'm being too hard on myself. Maybe I should start my own. And I'm happy that I was so naive, because I had zero savings. I had zero money coming in. I knew I had one more paycheck for like $4,000 for 2 weeks coming in when I quit. So I said, at most, I have a 2 week buffer to figure out what's going on here. I had not applied to anywhere else. And like, it's not like I was like living on savings. My family is not wealthy. I had no help from my friends, family, anything. And we just got lucky because where we're living is semi cheap in Buffalo. So I was like, I guess we're just doing it. And I just kept doing it and making it work. And like, I hyper focused on and like fixated on everything, and like just kept getting deals and deals. And I knew every deal. I was like, I literally in my head, like, cool, we can eat another week. Cool, we can eat another. And I know that that's really bad, but like, that's how I did it. Cause I was like, I have zero choice to fail right now, because I need to feed my family. I need to feed my wife. And then, you know, she got pregnant. So I was like, when we found out she was pregnant, like early 2014 or whatever. And I was like, dang, now there's two. Now what do I do? So that's when I started like looking. I was like, what's faster, getting $100, $300 a month deals, or getting 10, $1,000 a month deals? So it's like, all right, now we're going to do that. And to keep in mind too, for everyone listening, like, my service increased as prices increased. My level of service, my commitment to the client, how much better I've been doing. I've been doing this for 7 years. Like my products and services have never been better. So I'm not just like there's a lot of sleazy people out there. So I needed to hedge to go like, I'm not just, this number sounds good, let's put it at that. Like, these are actual numbers that we have data for, that we can prove, like, this is what you're getting for this. Here's the ROI. Like, people are getting results. When we started, my service was worth 300. Now where we're at, it is worth 5,000 a month. It is worth $10,000 a month, you know, and higher. So I just figured I had to say that so people weren't like, you scumbag.
well, you know, when you've been in business, you know, my counter to that, man, is when you've been in business long enough, the market's going to dictate what your price should be based on the value, right? You can make up a number, and if you have reoccurring customers, if you're at 10,000 a month retainer and people are buying it, and companies are sticking with the service month in and month out, you got a $10,000 a month value. It doesn't matter what anybody else says. It's $10,000 a month. It might even be more. They might feel like they're getting away with something at that. But if you're not delivering $10,000 worth of value to them, you're going to struggle, because you're going to have a poor reputation. Companies are going to come in, they're going to contract you out, and then they're going to leave, and they're going to feel like you stole something from them. And that's where your Google reviews start going down. And, you know, so, I mean, the proof is in the pudding with a successful business. You know, the market's going to dictate what that price should be. And man, if you're going from, you know, $300, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here, but when you're starting out at a $300 package right there, you just don't really know perhaps what the full package of value that you can really provide at that time. Am I right?
Yeah, at the time, especially because you're just figuring it out. So you're like, well, this is how they did it. I might either try to reverse engineer, mimics, take similar parts, and then this is how I would do it. And then you kind of mash it together. And then obviously there's a time factor. There's like limited in what I knew at the time. So one thing I didn't mention is I asked a buddy of mine, I was best man at his wedding, and I knew he did what I do, only he was the person. So like, I was like the sales and marketing guy putting together the strategy. And again, I never wanted to be the sales guy. So I was really good at it. And I knew understood how this worked. I always kind of wanted to be the guy doing the work, but I just happened to be the guy in front. And then we would pass it off to the people doing the work. Well, my friend happened to be the person he was in Florida. I think he was in Daytona or something. He actually did the work for the company. So I was like, oh, hey, do this with me. I started this thing. We'll be 50-50. Yeah. Which was, well, I later found out a huge mistake. And then, so I went from 33, the three-way.
You're getting better. You're getting better though.
Yeah. And then 50%. And I was like, no, that didn't work out. But So he ended up doing a lot of, I would sell it, he would do some of the work, I would sell it, he would do some of the work. And that was like the kind of way we did it. And then really, me and him had a falling out, and there was kind of like, this was my thing that I brought him on, but he was kind of trying to take control. And then eventually he found out, wow, like Eric's doing all these things and selling all these deals, but he had a lot of work to do on his end to keep up his end of the bargain. He didn't want to do the work anymore. So he kind of like tried to quit. He did quit, and it was this kind of power struggle where he was like, I don't want to do this anymore, but he wanted to like drive the company into the ground. He was like, it was like self-sabotage almost, where he was like,
did he actually have 50% equity in the
business?
He
had 50% equity in it. So it was like a point where the only thing I had was I was in control of our banking. So although legally I had to pay him every single month, I was not able to make any moves in the company and everything like that. And we had a huge like kind of lawsuit, and our lawyers would go back and forth. He was still giving me the company, but at the same time, he was collecting a check every single month that he did not deserve, because I had to I asked my attorney, I legally had to give it to him. But he was doing zero of the work. So then I had to sell, maintain, manage employees, and do all the work. So at this time, finally, after 10 months of that, which he ended up stealing about $120,000 from me, and then $15,000 in lawyer fees. Yeah. After all of that happened, I ended up refining what we do and how we did it and everything like that. And I was like, I really had to dive deep, and I was like, I need to fix this. I need to not only make us more productive, I need to make us more organized. I need to put systems in place. I got to do this. So I came up with all these systems and said, you know what? I know that this is how we've been doing it, but our client retention is way off. Like we should be not having people for only 6 to 12 months. Why aren't we having people for longer? Why aren't we having people for 12 to 3 years? Right? Like that's how it should be. And then, so I started refining everything and going in and trying to add value everywhere I could. Like, this time we do this, month 2, we do this, month 3, we do this, and really staging it out and like having a blueprint for every single client. And our clients started getting more and more success on their website. Our clients started getting traffic. Our clients started getting an ROI, and stuff got easier to manage with a smaller team. And I was like, I'm onto something. Okay. See, and then like almost every single thing that I ended up doing, I told you, like from the time I left the personal training firm, it was like a real self-conscious depression type of thing. Like, oh, I failed. And I told you I was heavy as like a younger kid. So like I already had this like really no self-confidence growing up. Like I didn't have good parents that were like, here, attaboy. Like it was nothing like that. And so no one reassuring me that anything I was doing ever was the right thing except for myself and going with my gut. So every time I would do one of these things, these big changes, make the jump, start the business, do this, get this deal, get that deal, every single little thing was like a reassurance of, you're doing this right. You're doing this right. Oh, the client's now stayed. Like right now, my client lifetime value is like 3 to 4 years. And it's only because we get to a point where it's like, I don't need to do anything anymore. We could do this, this, or this. What do you think? I don't know. Well, it's like, all right, well, we could scale down. We could like set it and forget it. So it's like really, really cool how stuff has changed since all this happened in the like first year of our business. But it's neat, man. It's so like the confidence I gave to myself from just being historically right at making these programs and systems work out in place to, back what I knew in my mind was the right thing to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So yeah, and I was gonna say, cause I've got, growing up, I was a bit similar. I grew up, I was pretty chunky. My parents, I don't want to make it sound like I grew up and my parents were awful. They were great. I had a 2-parent family growing up. So, I can't complain there. We had our issues, but certainly not the worst out there. But there were certain things that my parents didn't focus on. They didn't care so much about what I wore. They didn't care about what I ate. They didn't care about my hair at the time. And put all those things together, here I am going to elementary school. I've got long hair, in the whatever it is, early 90s. I got long hair. I'm wearing an extra large t-shirt with an alien head on it. It's all stretched out at the collar, and I'm fat. So I'm a target. And this was before any of the anti-bullying laws that all the kids these days get to enjoy.
How old are you?
I'm 34, so
So around the same age. Yeah, I was born in
yeah.
'89, so I grew up at the
Okay.
same era. Zero people
Yeah.
actually didn't care if you got bullied. Like the teachers
No,
were like, I think the
no.
teachers were also doing some bullying. I'm not joking. Like,
They didn't give a shit. Yeah. Yeah, so growing up in school, getting bullied, I'd be jumping around all these different elementary schools because my parents didn't teach me how to communicate. We didn't communicate well in my household. My father had a little bit of a temper. So when kids would make fun of me for being fat or, being ugly, the only thing I knew was to punch him in the face. And that wouldn't, so bullying, verbal bullying in those days, that was all right. But you punch a kid in the face, we'll send you to a different school.
yeah,
But those issues from being bullied carried with me into my 20s, and late teens, doing drugs and just trying to have fun, and not really thinking about the future or anything like that. Then next thing you know, you're a late teenager, early 20s. There's no self-confidence. You haven't had anybody give you any confidence your entire life. I remember being 17 years old, being in the um, what is it? The Hudson County, New Jersey. I was in the Hudson County courthouse, juvenile division, because I had a hotel party and somebody had a seizure during they took a bunch of pills and they had a seizure. And I just remember being in there. My father was in there. And I remember this woman, the prosecutor or whoever the juvenile equivalent was. And I remember just staring at her lips because she had like a little growth on her lip. And she said that your son is going to be coming in and out of here for his entire life. Your son's never going to do anything, and you better get used to it. And I just remember her saying that, and I was speechless. I had nothing to say. And to this day, I don't know if that woman, should have been fired for doing that, or if I should personally thank her, because it was that statement. I'm 17 years old. I can't even fucking tell you what I ate last night, but I remember that moment. But that moment in the immediate time frame, and that it stuck with me, and I believed her. I believed her that I wasn't going to amount to anything, and that if I continue to get into legal trouble, it's whatever, because that's my destiny, because some lady in a courthouse said so. But the reason why I go on that whole thing is I figured out I got over that after a while. I was able to overcome that lack of confidence, which is crippling to so many people. They have that traumatic experience, they have that, and they do that into their 30s, into their 40s, 50s, and so on. To hear your story, you sound very much similar to me. And then you look at you now. You're a good-looking dude now.
Thanks, man. You
and
too.
you're running your own business. I mean, that's a success story. What you have is a success story. But how, what was it that really gave you that aha moment, I guess they call it, to say that that's not who you really are inside, that you should have the confidence that you have? Because there's a lot of people with confidence right now that just are too afraid to start their own business.
Mhm.
And not only did you do it, you did it multiple times. What would you say really did it? Was it just that to make that one big leap, to take that chance, and just like you said, to take that chance where you were doing what you called the bad thing, where you were just in a way living paycheck to paycheck, but you were
Yeah,
living project to project.
right.
What gave you the courage to do that?
I honestly, I wish I had some like really profound like way like, oh, like a philosophy that I've always lived by, and I'm not that cool. Like I'm literally like, I blame it 100% on complete there was not confidence making that decision. It was literally lack of thinking it through. Literally, like if I'm speaking so truthful, when I quit that other, like both, every time I quit my job, I had no savings. I had nothing. I had people to take care of. And it was just, it was half like not thinking it through, not doing the math, not thinking about like what the repercussions were going to be if it failed. Never once thinking about if it failed, but it was like that, just like looking before leaping, I guess, is really what it is. Or not looking before leaping.
Right.
That's what it is. And then just kind of like pure like I've always known, this is the only thing I'll say that is semi profound. I've always known that I was different, like I was born in a different time, or maybe in Buffalo, I was not, that those were not like a lot of those people, even at the time as a young kid, I never fit in. Like I never like, people tried to
Right.
make me fit in. They try, I'm not saying I was an outcast. I had a lot of friends, but it never seemed like I was on the inner circle like that they were in, and I was always kind of on the outside of like some inside joke someone had. The joke wasn't on me, but like it just always kind of felt like that.
Right.
And I always thought, I looked at stuff a little differently, and like I was kind of like a class clown after, growing up, after being like, I was fat, and then when I was 15 I lost a whole lot of weight and became like, a little bit like more in shape, and I started to kind of like look a little more normal and not like a chunky overweight kid. Started dressing a little better. People started to notice me, and I let that like a little bit go to my head at the time, where it was like, maybe not overconfident, but just not used to any attention that wasn't negative bullying attention. So I kind of like went, class clown, and kind of started being a little bit obnoxious, almost not arrogant, but a little obnoxious. And I was like, well, if people are always talking about the way I look, like, like this is why can't I talk about it? Or, like why,
Right.
or something like that. And it just kind of like sparked into this thing. So I think like a lot of that, and figuring out who I was like at these times, and then going, wow, I have a kid. I need to kind of, I can't say at the time when I started the personal training firm that I thought of building a legacy like I think of now. But then I 150% knew that when I had my first son, I was like, I'm not going to be the guy. And there's nothing wrong with blue collar jobs, and there's nothing wrong with waiters. And I've waited tables my entire life, and there's nothing wrong with pizza places in these jobs. And like, I did all that stuff and working at a gym. But I was like, I will not be the guy living paycheck to paycheck, working behind a gym, working overnights. I will not be the guy that's going to do construction. I just knew it in my like complete self-awareness of, this is not me. And I absolutely, because of how I am, need to chase happiness, not freedom at the time, because I knew it was going to be a lot of work. Like my goal eventually is freedom, and that's another conversation. But I knew I needed to chase happiness, and I liked working, but I needed to work on things that I wanted to work on to be happy. So it was like a lot of like not thinking about the consequences, and a lot of like, I really did want to better myself, and I wanted, just really truly believed in my heart that whatever I did, it was going to be successful. Like just
Right.
it's really bizarre coming from, like I said, like I know that might not make sense, like it might be a contradiction of, well, you just said you had zero confidence. I didn't. But I still never thought about it. I never
Right.
overthought like, this is going to fail because I suck. I never thought about it like that. I just thought of, this isn't what I want. I need to make something happen. And I know sitting here doing nothing or working for someone isn't my path. And like,
Right.
I just started meeting all these people, Mike Wakefield. And like, if I would have never met that guy, I know I wouldn't be where I am today, which is why, like, now that's not why I'm friends with him, but that guy changed my entire life, my entire path, by just going like, you're a sales guy, you're this, and like put me on the path of learning how. That's when I really started getting a crash course in business.
Right.
And if I would have never got that job at Profit, working all those hours for someone else with something that I enjoyed and I was good at, I don't think that I would have made the jump either, because that job gave me confidence. After I started working from behind the gym, I was like, look how much money I'm making. Look how much money I'm making for someone else. And I'm really, 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 really good at it. I can do this myself.
Right.
And then, that's kind of just how I ended up getting. And then now I can never, it's been 7 years since I worked for someone else, and I have no intentions of going back.
Yeah,
Ever.
I like to tell everybody I'm unemployable at this point. I took a couple years ago. I took, just because it at the time made sense for me. I took a job at a work from home job with an insurance company, just thinking, hey, the benefits will be cheaper, they'll pay me money, and it's going to be easy. And that was a fucking nightmare. It's just, I mean, just having to attend meetings. I like to cancel my meetings, you know. And just, oh man, but yeah, working for somebody else's dream, man. I mean, especially when you're doing that well at your job, and you're bringing in six figures worth of sales just to you. I mean, you just need, at that point, you start looking at your situation and saying, man, I just need to figure out how to structure a business, and I could be making so much more, and I'm calling the shots on this, you know? That's
Yeah.
amazing. So, I mean, fast forward, so Royal Reputation, right? What so is that so that's a marketing company. And the only reason I say that is because of the reputation in the name. So it's a little different than Royal Marketing, which there's probably 100.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, my thought there was, and this was a rebrand that I've been working on for a while. And just to talk about failures, like I tried to do a rebrand a couple years back, and another not looking before I leaped. And I started a merch company called Vanity. And the idea was that it's a walking contradiction. It was like, worry about what you look like, but worry about everyone else too. Like just as much as that I was trying to pull something off, and I hated explaining it after a while. So it fizzled out that. And I bought $15,000 out of merchandise out of my pocket and had it custom made from Japan. And I only ended up selling like $5,000 tops. So I was 10,000 upside down though. Anyways, I tried to build we were originally Rank KO, and I tried to build Vanity Social because I wanted it to align with a merch brand, because you couldn't wear Rank KO clothes. Like it was weird. The brand wasn't cool enough, but Vanity was cool. So I tried to create Vanity Social, and I had the site built, but I never took the leap on fully changing the brand over and be known under that. Right. And that was like an 8-month project with the merch and the brand that I just ended up letting go. And then the reason why it's reputation is what we are actually is an online reputation management and podcast marketing agency. So what we do, online reputation management, means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. There's two layers of online reputation management. 50% of it is marketing. So 50% is the promotion of your assets. The other 50% is the PR side, or like the the suppression of negative assets. So whether that be negative reviews, or someone writes something about, let's say an attorney client of mine gets a DUI. His name's in the the description of it when it's online. He calls me, he goes, Eric, this is going to hurt my firm. This is going to hurt business. People Google my name, they see this. We need to get rid of it. I try to submit it to get rid of it to Google. I provide them the necessary paperwork that the court case got thrown out. And I also try to suppress it using content creation and assets. So it's 50% of it is marketing and 50% is that. And then I throw podcast marketing agency in there because that's specific to the podcast, but it's also just another form of content creation. And people don't really lump podcast marketing in to marketing in general, if that makes sense. So that's why the tagline is what it is. But yeah, so I decided to go that route because working for Hearst Media and working for Town Square Interactive, these are big marketing media companies that do a lot of different things. And their online reputation management stuff was Google alerts at best. And I was like, this isn't what I think it is. When I hear online reputation management, even then, before I really knew, and my explanation of it's evolved as over time, it still wasn't what I thought it should have been. And then I start Googling it and realized there's not a whole lot of these people out there. And then before I knew it, I started branding myself, and I started doing reputation management for myself. So I didn't have anything to hide. But if you Googled my name right now, you're going to get flooded with 3 pages of all of my stuff that I own. And I was like, oh my God, I know exactly what we need to do and how we need to do this. And that's when I came up with all those methods after my partner left. And we really went really hard on the online reputation management side of things shortly after that.
So what I was going to ask is, when you said suppress the negative, that is is the strategy there to suppress it by just flooding positive on top of it? Is that
essentially? Yeah. Not just positive, but informative and, entertaining, depending on what it is. So like I'll sit down, and usually my strategy, it varies per industry, and the content, like the topical information, is a little different per industry. But using that attorney as an example, I'd go, we can write half the content on your attorney stuff, and we could provide value that way. And then the other half, we could write about hobbies and interests. So that way we can have your website. So let's call him John Smith. So we could say johnsmithtampa.com. Now he has a personal website. We could also have just johnsmith.com. those two are now assets for him that are going to rank when he type in his name, taking up there's 10 spots within the Google search results. So those are going to take up 2. Then we have Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all these things that we could optimize. If we publish content on them, they're going to start ranking over a long period of time. And then the other thing is just really putting out stuff there that eventually we can, sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. Eventually we can flip into not positive content. It's all going to be pretty neutral and positive, but it's going to be used as marketing material then after that. So once that URL is gone, the marketing, like the objective has changed, and now everything that we just posted becomes marketing material.
Right.
So and then it just does that little switch.
So that's a lot of search engine optimization.
A ton of SEO. So that's why I put SEO on the marketing side. That's why on online reputation management is, it's just a form. There's it's a big umbrella, and half of it is SEO and marketing and all these other tactics. And then online, the suppression side is reverse SEO and kind of doing stuff like that. It just depends on what asset you're trying to promote and suppress.
Man, do you know anything? I remember hearing about this not too long ago about companies that basically do the opposite of what you're doing. They just attack other companies just to attack their reputation online, whether it's...
I don't know companies that do it, but I know, like, I've dealt with a lot of cyberbullying and cyber attacks from like a lot of different people that were maybe not happy customers and stuff, for sure.
Right. And that'll destroy a business. At least I know, because I used to wait tables too. I have a background in hospitality and restaurants and stuff. And so I have a lot of friends that are still in the business, and that's a big issue with restaurants. And I mean, even me personally, if I'm in an area I don't know, even where I live now, I'm going to look up reviews for it. And if you've got a 4.7, if you've got a 4.6 on Google or less, I'm not fucking going, but, and it's easy to drop that quick,
It really is. It's shockingly so easy to bury another company with bad reviews if you do it the right way.
Right. And that's where a service like yours is fantastic, just to battle back on that. In today's day and age, I mean, would you say that any company that's subject to an online review, which is basically everybody, right? Any company that has an online reputation needs to consider whether it's your company or a company in general. Is that, like, in today's age?
Yeah, 100%. I would just be aware of people that guarantee a lot of stuff, because I don't care what anyone says. I don't care if there's a guy telling you, don't listen to the guy that says be aware of the guarantees, like if he's saying the opposite of what I'm saying. But anyone that guarantees anything it's a lie. That no one can guarantee anything. It makes my job harder having to tell someone, hey, I know you're coming to me to get this result. But I can't guarantee that we're going to either get rid of the negative review or suppress the negative URL or this or that. All we can do is try. And then I could tell them about the success stories that I've had and times where it's taken me longer than I thought it was. So I'm very transparent about the length of time that something like that could take. But I think everyone needs, if you're marketing in general and you're regularly marketing and you're regularly creating content on Facebook and Instagram and all these other platforms and regularly updating your website, and you're focused already on getting an influx of positive reviews, you're doing all the right things and you don't need to hire another company.
Right.
Because no matter what, at that time, any other company could do, if something happened, you could hire someone out a la carte for helping you maybe possibly remove or get rid of that stuff or suppress. Yes, but you're already proactively working against what they're going to do.
Right.
If a company has no online presence, if they have a Facebook that they haven't updated in 3 months, and they have a website that they don't really do a whole lot with, and they have Google reviews and they don't have a lot of Google reviews whatsoever. Maybe they have one and it's from your cousin. Those are the type of people that actively need to start marketing and creating content for themselves, or B, hire a company to proactively go create marketing content for you in the event that you may get a bad or unhappy customer someday down the road. Those are the companies that are most susceptible, but everyone could use this at some point in time. There's just other companies that are in a better position because of the things that they're already currently doing in place.
Right. Man, I think we might have to talk. We might have to talk.
let, let me know, man. I honestly love this stuff. Like, if you were like, Eric, what would you do if you were me? Like, I would 100% like write you a complete strategy of A to Z on how I would do
Yeah.
it. And like, I try to just give everyone as much value as I possibly can, like letting them know, like, look, I'm only going to do this, 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 and this, and this. And then I leave it up to them. Like, do you want to do that yourself, or do you want to pay someone to do it so you don't have to think about it? And that's it. That's as far as I mentioned. I hate sales. That's as far as my sales goes
Right.
nowadays. Like, it's like, hey, I know sales are important. They're the driving force of any business, but I'm not doing tactics or like, I'll do a presentation, but it'll just be an educational, like what I just said, but just with a PowerPoint.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like, that's it, you
Yep.
know? So that's all I want to do, is just make sure people know how to do this stuff. Because if you're not going to go with me, like, people buy from people that they like. So all my job is at that point is to prove that I can do what I can do, and then just be likable. And if I get along with them, there's some people that I don't even want to work with, honestly. Like, I'm to the point now where I run my stuff like a firm. I'm a really small group. It's me, and I have 5 other people, and then a team of freelance writers. So I run mine like an attorney. So I'm the main guy. I do all like the strategy and everything. And then I delegate to my team, who the graphic designers creating the, all the graphics, the images. I have a videographer who's chopping up the videos for everyone. I have, they're helping me produce the podcasts and all that stuff. My content strategist is going through the things, creating captions, putting this all, loading it in social media. The web developer, everyone's got their role. And I like how I run it, because I'm the front facing of the client. No one's ever going to care about my business as much as I care.
Exactly.
Right.
100%.
So that's how we work on the client retention. And I'm a boutique agency, meaning I'm never going to have hundreds of clients, and I don't want hundreds of clients. I want to be a consultant to 10 to 20 people at a time, depending on where I'm at, like how in depth each project is.
Right.
And like, that to me that's the fun part of helping these people either build their brands, protect their brands, set up a podcast, market, do all that stuff.
Right.
It's so fun, man.
So wait, if you're trying to stay boutique, right, and you're trying to stay with that small group of clients, which I'm with you on, what's the horizon? What's up next? What's the next big milestone?
So what's funny is it's back to fitness, actually. So I'm a nationally qualified physique competitor, which is really fun.
What is that? I mean, what is that? Is that like bodybuilding contest? Like, what does that mean?
Kind of, without the Speedos. I'm the guy wearing his board shorts on stage.
Right.
I'm not confident enough to pull off the Speedo stuff, and I never will be. So I'll be the guy walking around with the board shorts the entire time. So I started doing that to be able to, as I told you, I gained weight working for those other places, and I didn't feel like myself. So I was depressed working for someone else, and then I left, and I was like, I had this personal training company, the personal training company where I was in decent shape, worked for those other companies, started opening my own company, and my health I wasn't sick, but I was like overweight again and unhappy, and I was drinking a lot. Not every day, but like, it was like, not a high quantity, but like a scotch every day or something like that. And I was just like, you're kind of permanently hungover at that point, even if it's just a little. Yeah. It's weird. And then, so you see the brand Royal Reputation. I met someone here through, and you guys probably won't believe me, and I promise this is not a lie. I was working out at the YMCA 6 years ago in Florida, and someone came up to me, and it was a guy, and he was like, "Is this you?" And I was like, "Yeah, what's up?" And he was like, "Nothing, man. I'm Brian." And I was like, "Okay, cool." And he's like, "Yeah, I saw that you posted this, and I looked over and I saw you." And he was like following that page on Instagram, like,
wow.
I popped up on the page because I tagged the Y.
All right.
And so I meet this guy. He's an attorney. He's a car accident attorney. We kind of build a small friendship where it's like half friends, not really hanging out too much, half like giving him some advice on some stuff. He eventually in 2019, becomes my client, and we build an even better friendship. And he's he's a smaller paying client, but he's still like, we build a really good friendship where I feel almost obligated to do extra stuff and go above and beyond for him. So I start telling him one day, we meet for lunch, and now we're like, this is not too long ago, this year sometime. Like, dude, I had this idea. Like, I love my brand, Royal Reputation, but I want it to be like bigger than that. This is my legacy. I finally found something I believe in that has the mascot, the lion, like king of the jungle.
Right.
Like it's so much more than like, it's not like, ooh, I'm royalty and better than you. It's literally royalty. Like
Top.
I'm king of the
Right.
jungle. It's the mentality. It's like, so I start talking to him about, why is the lion the king of the jungle? Like he's not the biggest. It's his mentality. He's not the fastest. That's the cheetah. It's his mentality. It's you know,
Right.
it's, so I start going over all this stuff, and I got him so hyped that he was like, I'm sold. And I was like, sold on what? He's like, I want in. And I was like, in on what? He's like, let's build this gym and this mega complex that you want to do and build the kingdom. And I was like, okay. So I start talking to him about all my ideas. And I wanted to build a huge gym that has a basketball court in it, because they don't do gyms the way I would do a gym out here. They're not set up the way I would do them, and completely like, you know, opposite of how I would do them almost.
What do you mean? I lived in Florida too. Throw this out there.
Yeah.
How don't they do them?
I found some LA Fitnesses that are right. I think the LA Fitnesses, they almost too commercially, where they're not, I don't know. I never liked the setup of them out here. And I found that in gyms in Florida, in Buffalo, at least, which I'm comparing them to, were much more set up properly. And I feel like they were more functional, and they were less focused on the commercial side of things.
Okay.
So, and I know that varies from gym to gym. I'm talking about an LA Fitness here. So that's really when I say gyms here, I just mean the ones that everyone knows and goes to. Also, their business models are a little different. So I know a really solid business model because I ran the gyms in New York. So that's kind of, I mean a few different things when I say that. So I would just set it up a lot different and go after the crowd a little differently. And I wanted to have, more specifically, have a protein shake bar in there, which I've seen in LA and all these other places. And in Buffalo, they had a small one. That's how I started, right? So it's funny to talk about. So he goes, okay. And then like a week later, he goes, I have an idea. And I was like, okay. He goes, what if we don't do the gym now? Because he goes, I don't want to spend $1 million. And he goes, I don't want to get a loan because we'd have to put our houses up. Right. And so I go, okay. He goes, what if I give you $100,000 and we'll build this protein bar together? And I was like, I love it.
Yeah.
So Royal Nutrition was born.
Okay.
Royal Nutrition opens December 13th. Now, this is part of my legacy that I'm going to leave. It's not like where everything's going. And this still doesn't even cover marketing and stuff. But Royal Nutrition is, people are like, oh, cool, you're building a Smoothie King. No, it's opposite. Smoothie King is transactional like Starbucks. You walk in, you get your coffee, you leave, you go sit down. You don't talk to the employees. They fake talk to you, which is really annoying now, but it's not like it is. I have a 38-foot bar being built right now in my space that I found that's right next to a UFit, smack dab in the busiest intersection in West Chase. And it has a drive-through. So we're going to have drive-through protein shakes. But this is really a true picture any bar or bar you've ever been to, bar lounge. And this is that, but with kombucha as the beer and protein shakes as like the alcohol and stuff. And we're ripping shots of apple cider vinegar and wheatgrass and aloe concentrate, and really creating an atmosphere where you walk in there, and I want it to be the opposite of Starbucks, Smoothie King and stuff. I want music cranked, people at the bar sitting there. So we have that. We have meals prepped. So it'll be Royal Eats is the goal to call it.
Right.
We have the kombucha. It's so funny because our gimmick really is being like a bar. So like we're gonna pour the kombucha, which looks like beer into a pint glass.
Right.
And then we're having Royal merch will eventually be there. We have private label, our own protein, our own pre-workout, our own creatine, our own
private
glutamine.
Label. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. So we've done all that stuff. And like, that's all ours. And it's like, honestly, couldn't be happier. It's the healthiest stuff that's out there. Like, it not only does it taste good, but it has no filler crap in it. So like I'm 100% backing everything that we carry at this place because it's the healthiest things you could possibly get. Yeah. So this is more of my side hustle, which sounds funny because it's a huge undertaking. Right. That'll be open December 13th. The floors are being installed right now, actually. Beautiful. Which is pretty cool. And then once that's up, our goal is to get like 3 or 4 or 5 of those in the area. And again, it has a drive-through. No other place for meals and protein shakes has a drive-through, and it's right by a gym. So you can come and chill, or you can leave the gym, drive through our little drive through, grab a shake, and then leave. And then that's going to be really cool. So I'm excited about
You
that,
know what's
man.
interesting about that is, so, you know, I've been looking at I've done them before, but meal prep services delivered to your house, throw them in the fridge, and hopefully you eat them all right before they go bad. So, are you thinking of just making it so that if I'm driving home from work or whatever, I can hit the drive through, grab my protein shake for the day, but then grab a couple meal preps too, and then get home?
Yep. 100%.
That's beautiful. There's no excuses at
Yeah.
that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's sick, man. I'm really excited. I think we have something very special that is kind of a mesh of a lot of different things. And then full circle, like where I got my start before I met Mike Wakefield, I'm literally behind a shake bar making a protein shake, talking to a girl about a gym membership when he came up to me. Like, that's where I got my start in fitness. And now it's like, to me, it's all coming
Full
back. Like, I
circle.
have to make the shakes now. I have to make the recipes that I was making 7 years ago, but like in my own way and like what I want to do. And it's now I own the place.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is crazy. So I know it might not seem so glamorous. Like, people are like, Eric, you're making all this money and like doing what you're doing on the computer and have all these big clients, and now you're going to go make shakes. And I was like,
That sounds like
the goal is not for me to be like back there a lot making those.
Right.
And like, I'm going to start out for the first, I'm going to even say long term, for the first 12 months, I will need to be there morning, noon, and night, making sure everything is flawless, making sure the employees are there and good. And then my goal is to, you know, as we open up more, just be the kind of like district manager and like overseeing everything.
Right.
And then eventually have a person that I put in place for the 3 or 4 or 5, if we have them, if it's successful, that they're running the show. And I'm kind of just like able to take a pay cut off of whatever we're making, because I'm paying someone a lot of money to put all their time and energy and effort.
Right.
And then it's just, I don't want to say passive, because I don't like that word, because it's always going to be anything that makes you money. You're going to still have to have an eye on the ball a little bit. But that at that point will be good. And then that'll turn into either more businesses of that, or that money will be saved. And our goal is to then be able to open up the big gym.
Right.
That's going to be a
Right.
sports complex. That's going to have all that stuff. So we're just taking money, figuring out how to take that money, to save that money, to put that money into something else that makes us more money.
Right.
And like, not even just, it's not, I know it sounds like I'm money hungry, but all of those things are about me building a lifestyle.
Right.
So like, I want to walk into a gym that I own, that has childcare, that I trust, that I know is good, that these people are certified, that are watching my kids while me and my wife work out, where I'm the guy that's in charge of all the stuff that's set up the way I want, and I'm eating the meals that I want. I might even have a barber in the shop and have his own little studio, like shop in there, because I want it to be pure lifestyle. Like, I want to walk in, you pull up and get almost valet to this gym, and someone grabs your car and you can opt in to have them vacuum it out while you're in the gym.
Beautiful.
And then clean it up.
Yeah.
Park the car, you go in there. You ever see a Walmart? You guys have to see Walmart,
Yeah.
right? Okay. Walmart, you have 15, 20 businesses on the outskirts of Walmart. Right. The eyeglass doctor, the tax guy, the pharmacy.
Yeah. Walmart's the anchor.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Walmart's the anchor. I want the gym to be the anchor, and I want the 15 to 20 businesses to be mine on the outside.
Right.
All related to health and fitness, not related to spending money on consumer products.
Man, you know what would be great though is just if that one place, if you went into the gym and all those businesses were right in there and you're already in the gym. I mean, I just think about me and how many bullshit excuses that I come up with. I mean, if you need somebody on staff that's just going to think of reasons why they're not going to go to the gym, you got to bring me on, because I can write a book. So, but I mean, if you have all those services in there, you're going to clean out my car while I'm in there. I'm going to be able to get a haircut after I'm done, and all these things. I mean, I guess I'll hit the tread for a little bit. Yeah.
Like you, and again, work out if you want, or don't.
Right.
Like, come, like, literally use all the services. Like, I just want it to be, it's not, I hate comparing it to Walmart, even though Walmart's super successful, but also Walmart has this like kind of negative connotation towards it being a grocery store, because like there's Publix here and not Walgreens, Wegmans in New York. I don't know if you have Wegmans you're in Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got that.
Yeah, so like, those are like the upscale ones that you'd strive to be. where I want to be an upscale. I want it to be an upscale place, but I want it to be a kingdom of places that you go and you could literally do everything that you want for health and fit. Like I want to have a med spa in there where ladies can go and get Botox and then run over to the gym. It's basically a mall, like literally an old shopping mall of the gym. So like that's what I'm trying to build. And then even that's just the inside. And the outside is a football court and a soccer field and outdoor basketball court and all these other a pool and a playground and all these other things, and just make it a paradise.
Right.
So like that's my goal. Like that will be my legacy, building something that's never been done like that before, like on that grand scale. And then like Royal Reputation, I want to stay boutique and I enjoy doing it. So it's like, to me, it's all connected because it's all going to be under that Royal brand.
Right. And it's not about you brought this up before about being money hungry, man, and I've gotten people that have said that about me, that I'm just being money hungry and why not focus on what I'm doing well in. So, I'm in the insurance business and I found a little niche in that and I do well with it. I've had $250,000 years, doing this thing. But here I am trying to find other businesses to create and other ventures to get into. And that's a very common thing. I mean, you're money hungry? Why are you doing that? I mean, for you, if you are truly money hungry, why not just turn it from a boutique into just a broad scale marketing firm? Hire on more personnel, get more clients, do those $300 guys. Just bring clients in, and you'll blow up over time. You keep changing the formula over time, you'll blow up. You'll be, as an 8-figure millionaire. You'll be doing great. But it doesn't sound like that's the motivating factor here. It's building a legacy, building a brand, and providing these products and services to people that you believe in. And that's what's going to make a successful business, is having the belief in the product that you're putting out there. Money will come if you're right. If you predicted the market correctly, you'll get the money. And that's like your proof that, it wasn't a dumb idea. But the origin of the idea comes from a place of helping others, a place of providing value because you believe in something and you know that there's an absence in the market of that. What you've explained with the bar, a long bar going in, and you're kind of taking the background of the restaurant, experience that you have, and then you're taking the fitness part and you're kind of merging them together into a cool, hip sort of place where you can go in, and instead of Jameson, you're going to do some, lemongrass and, all that sort of stuff. And the music is on, it's inviting. You want to be there. It could be a social thing too. It's not a fucking Jamba Juice. That's that is a very, very interesting concept, man. And I would love to see how that plays out. Because I think in the right area, obviously, in a very health conscious neighborhood, I mean, and I would guess, a younger health conscious neighborhood, man, I would be there. I'd drop in there every now and then. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's really exciting. So there's a Publix grocery store that's like Wegmans. And then we're in that same plaza as the Publix. We're on the very corner, so we have a lot of exposure, and we're on a main intersection. Like the traffic's unbelievable. I don't know how we got this spot. And then we're right next to Publix in the same plaza is a UFit, which is a big gym around here. I've never even been in it. And then a Lowe's. So that UFit's going to be huge. I'm going to try to go partner up with them. I already know I have an in with the GM there, which is really, really exciting. So we're going to try to see if, because I can do people's macros and get them on their diets and do all that stuff. So that'll kind of be the bar talk. And they're coming in and doing that stuff. So my goal is to create an atmosphere where it's like, hey, if this guy wants to go talk to that girl or vice versa at the gym, but he won't because he's respectful because she's working out or something, and she won't because he's working out. And it's weird because you're both working out and you're just there for you because it's your time. Maybe they catch each other at this spot and it's like meeting someone at a bar. Right. And you're creating, I'm not creating this for people to connect. Yeah. But that's a benefit of what's going to happen. Right. That's a product of networking and doing all these things. So I want it to just be that type of atmosphere where the two people with similar interests in health and fitness go in there, you make friends, you talk to us, you enjoy yourself. You're not rushing home because you can't wait to go like hang out for 30 minutes, maybe, maybe an hour. You're sitting at the bar. I want you to just shoot the shit with someone,
Right.
like that's what we're trying to do. But I'm excited, man. And yeah, like back to what you're saying about money hungry and getting bigger than boutique. I tried to go that route, and we tried to go. I had a whole team, a little bigger of a team than I do now in 2018 to mid 2018 to like end of 2019. And I was really not involved. I was really kind of overseeing and like getting like updates weekly and not super involved how I am now on a daily basis with every single thing. And we had more clients than we've ever had and more revenue than we've ever had, which equates to about the same with me because you have a bigger team and, scaling. I was the most unhappy I've ever been. Even like it was mine and it was great, but I had no purpose.
Right.
Like on every day you're going and you're like, you kind of wake up, and I was working out and I was like eating good and doing all that stuff. My kids were at school. My wife she was a nurse at the time. She's still a nurse, but she doesn't work anymore. All these people are gone. And I'm kind of just like, okay,
Yeah.
like I built myself this like freedom, but like freedom only is good if you have like something to do with that freedom,
Exactly.
So like, not that I didn't have anything to do, but like my family was doing their stuff. So like, I can't just go, you guys stop doing your stuff so we can hang out.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, it's bizarre. So I was really unhappy. It was a really lonely time to like, I figured out a way to get out of it and not do work. And like, at the time I should have been working on another 5 projects. Like if I would have done that, I started building those, then maybe I would still be like more on the passive side with Royal Reputation at this point in time.
Yeah.
And it would have led to this, but I don't regret anything. Like it just took a while for me to figure out that I needed to do another thing.
Right. Yeah.
So
you just keep following that path, man. Man, it's you've got an inspiring story, man. And sometimes I think of people as if they were stocks. I think of myself as if I'm a stock sometimes, and I try to think, well, if I was a stock, am I in a bubble right now? Am I going down or am I going up? What's the value of my stock right now? Man, it seems like the value of your stock is going up right now. And it's an amazing, inspiring story. So if anybody's been listening or watching this podcast, and you've got a business and you don't have an online reputation, or maybe you do have an online reputation and you understand the value of maintaining that, how can they find you? What does that process look like for them to get tied up with you?
Yeah, honestly, anyone that's listening, I would say there's a lot of free stuff. I'm not here to pitch me or plug me or anything like that. There's a ton of free information on everything that I do on my website, royalreputation.io. And then on top of that, I also have a podcast called Becoming Legends on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. There, I interview entrepreneurs like me, much more successful than me, and I hope to be as successful as them someday. I mean, you're talking millionaires that are giving away like just the best advice for free. Like literally, like you want to be inspired, go listen to these podcasts. You want to, have tactics on certain things, different industries all across the board, go listen to the podcast. That's going to be, you guys can learn so much from that. And then the resources on my website. And I'd rather have you guys go there first than, if you need help with anything, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm always available.
Fantastic, man. Guys, check out the podcast. Check out the website. Eric, freaking awesome having you on, man. Hope to have you on again sometime.
Thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. I'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks a lot.